Donnie and Dolly. The team is supported by ableauctions.ca. Closing your business? We can help.
Thursday, all of today's guests, including Farhan, standing by in Kansas City, also known as Nashville. Brought to you by the Vancouver Giants. Giants would like to thank their fans for their support this season at the LEC. Can't wait to welcome you back for 2023-2024. Get your season tickets for next year now at vancouvergiants.com/season tickets. NFL draft starts today, round one in Kansas City. There to cover it and there to talk to us today from TSN, Farhan Lalji. Farhan, thanks for doing this, sir. How are you?
I'm good. Just hanging out in my hotel. This is not Nashville. It is Kansas City. They do have a Broadway nearby, but there's no Legends Corner. There is no strip of country bars like there is, but there is fantastic barbecue here. I had some last night. So Kansas City barbecue, very underrated.
Agreed. I've never been there, but I've heard all about it. Hey, NFL draft, Farhan, as you know, as everybody knows, Carolina picks first, which leads to the question, how will 5'10" Bryce Young do at the NFL level? And does he get taken number one?
Oh, yeah, he's going to get taken number one, and he's going to do just fine at the NFL level. You know, in the last 2 years, he's only had 2 passes knocked down at or behind the line of scrimmage. But as all these shorter quarterbacks tend to say, I was this short my entire life. I'm not going to grow at this point. This guy's got a tremendous understanding of the game of football, how to process, how to get the ball out quick, how to take advantage of everyone around him. He's got tremendous athleticism. I think this is going to be a home run pick, an absolute home run pick. I'm disappointed to hear what I'm hearing about C.J. Stroud, because I've felt the whole time that both C.J. Stroud and Bryce Young were easily the number 1 and 2 picks, the top 2 quarterbacks, the top 2 players. And now we don't know what's going to happen at number 2 with Houston and whether or not they're going to take Stroud there or whether he falls a little bit. But as far as Bryce Young is concerned, Carolina has their quarterback of the future, and they've got a good one.
Stroud did not test well, Farhan. Have I got that right?
Yeah, the S2 test, which is kind of the new Wonderlic, right? Yep. And it measures your processing ability and just kind of how fast you can make decisions and things like that. And allegedly, he scored an 18 out of 100, whereas Bryce Young scored 98. And Will Levis, who's now being talked about as the potential second quarterback taken, got a 93. But the co-owner or the co-founder of that test also said that there was some additional context around 2 of the tests. He didn't say Stroud for sure, but certainly it alluded to that, where he kind of questioned and said, look, this might not be all that it seems, but watch the Georgia tape, man. Like, watch some of the film that he's put out there this year. This guy's an incredible player. Is he playing with great players? Sure he is. So is Bryce Young, but C.J. Stroud is a can't-miss player. The guy's had he was over 69% completions, 85 touchdowns, and 12 interceptions. He is the real deal.
Farhan, I hate to go down this road, but it is part of football history. 20, 30, 35 years ago, Bryce Young, 5'10", 204, a black quarterback. Does he end up in the CFL?
Oh, 1,000%. Like, without even question, right? Everyone thought Russell Wilson was going to wind up in the NFL, right? Yeah. Like, people didn't know whether at his size he would get that real opportunity. And I know he was on some neg lists, and people thought he was going to wind up making his way north. And now that he broke the door down, and not as a black quarterback, but as a shorter quarterback, right? That's always a thing. You know what Doug Flutie had to go through and had to come up here. I think people thought that Russell would do that, but when he did what he did, that certainly has opened the door up for others like Kyler Murray and other smaller quarterbacks. Now, I mean, you know, there was a time when 6'4" was the preferred height for a position. It's almost gone the other way. If you're 6'4", 6'5", 6'6", people think you're lanky and unathletic. Like 6'1", 6'2" has now become the optimum size, and 5'10" is really no worse than 6'5" for opposite reasons.
Farhan, Canadians in the NFL draft, what are you hearing, and how many could go?
I think we're going to see 5 at least go.
Would that be a record? Would that be a record?
5 would be a record, yeah. 4 was a record a couple of years ago, the year that Javon Holland and Chase and a few of those guys got taken, but 5, Matthew Bergeron could go in the first round. Late in the first, he might sneak in there, but certainly a top 40 to 45 pick is what the expectation is for the big tackle out of Syracuse. Sidney Brown, the Brown brothers, Sidney and Chase, are both going to go. Sidney, I would imagine he gets taken probably late in the second round. He's had a very good off season following a real breakthrough season for him, and then his brother Chase, who led the NCAA in rushing most of the year. Running backs tend to get undervalued a little bit, right? So he's not going to go in the top 2 rounds, but probably goes late 3rd, early 4th. There's a defensive end from Ole Miss named Tavius Robinson, and now City Sow, a lineman from Eastern Michigan, has been climbing as well. We thought 7th round, could go as high as the 5th round. And then there's even a receiver, Jared Wayne from Pitt, who's had a lot of interest, didn't test well at his pro day. If he could get taken late, but more likely he'll be an undrafted priority free agent with a signing bonus. So just a lot of NFL interest. I've got the CFL draft in 2 days on Tuesday, not in 2 days, but on Tuesday in Toronto. And, people are going to talk about the quality of the draft class, but it's not a reflection of the quality of Canadians because some of them are so good and getting so many opportunities that they didn't get before. It does affect the CFL draft.
You're playing a big part in SFU trying to get the football program back on board. Give us an update. Where are you at? What's happening?
Yeah, there's an injunction that is going to go forward on Monday. Our alumni is taking one last shot at this. We're going to make one more proposal to the university today because I don't think any of us, win or lose, likes the thought of the university in court battling against 5 of its students, right? Like, that's not good for anybody. And certainly this entire process, the university is taking huge reputational damage. And I know that the administrators at SFU seem to want to convince themselves that this is just a football thing. It's just the football community that's upset. This is a national news story, right? You and I both know that. All 3 of us know. It's so much more, and it's not even because of football anymore. It's because of how poorly they've handled it and how unfair the process has been. And for me going through it, it's so disheartening, guys, because the rules or the reasons they're giving are completely flawed. And we've debunked them repeatedly. But they don't want to hear that. They just keep doubling down on those reasons because they just want to kill it. And that's been the disheartening part. So for us, hopefully the injunction works. Hopefully this proposal works. There's other remedies that we can take, and we're going to keep fighting regardless of what happens on May 1st. But it's not a good look for anybody. None of us wants to be going through this. If we had just been consulted in a meaningful way before this, we think we could have solved some things. But could we have? Because if they really wanted to just kill it, and all of their actions point to that, I don't know how you deal with that, right? I don't know how you defend that when there's just no target and no real process. They're all in alignment. They're all singing from the same songbook, right up to the governor. It's been tough. It really has been tough. And let me say this with that. For people that are upset and emotional, you should be, but be respectful, right? No swearing, no inappropriate comments when you're addressing leadership, whether it's in a letter, whether it's in a Twitter post or whatever it is. You have a right to be angry because of how they've handled it. You've got a right to be emotional, but be appropriate and respectful in that, please.
Back to the NFL draft before I let you go very, very quickly. Seahawks at number 5 at number 20, but let's focus on number 5. Do we assume, depending on who drops, it's going to be a defensive lineman, Will Anderson, Jalen Carter, etc.?
Yeah, or Tyree Wilson. Any of those 3, I think, could go. And people have talked about character concern around Jalen Carter and the legal situations that he's dealing with. But Pete Carroll's that guy going back to his USC days that feels he can work with troubled guys and make that work. So I expect him to take a D lineman. But if CJ Stroud falls to 5, I don't know that they pass that up, right? And I think that they've talked about that, right? That they're in a unique position at number 5 to consider a high-end quarterback, and if he drops, they should take him. And even though they could get some more immediate help elsewhere, but in my opinion, they should take him, have him groomed behind Geno, and they'd have their quarterback for the next generation. But they need D-line help as well. The run defense was awful. Carter would help it. Wilson would help it. Anderson's an incredible pass rusher. So I think they're in a position where they're just not going to lose. There's no bad decision for Seattle. The 20th pick, they might trade it, right? They've been known to do that. They won't trade 5, though, in my opinion. And we'll see what happens with which quarterbacks fall to them.
Go get yourself some ribs. Thanks, Farhan. Appreciate this.
Thanks, guys.
You bet.